Hi and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we're working on a 2002, it's a Chevy Impala with a 3.4 liter engine. The problem is that the vehicle is overheating. The customer brought the vehicle in and said to replace the thermostat that the car was running hot. And as anybody knows in the business, you don't assume that there's going to be a thermostat without checking into it further to make sure that everything else is working right, such as no antifreeze leaks and the cooling fans are turning on. There is no leaks. It's a little bit wet underneath the bottom, but that's because the owner tells me he put a little bit of water into the car at the top off. It took about 3/4 of a gallon, he said. So the first thing I did is I scanned it to find out if the cooling fans were actually turning on and if there was any codes in there. There was no codes in there, and the cooling fans were not turning on. So what I did is I put the computer on it, and I can actually, as you know, you can scroll down through the computer and go in to turn on. You can turn on the cooling fans manually with the computer. And in this case, the cooling fans did not come on. The fan request showed up as requesting, but it didn't turn on the fans. So I'm going to take you through and I'm going to show you what I did and how I resolved the problem and got it repaired. So let me bring you over there. I'm going to take you through, talk you through it step by step because I didn't have time to do it today while I was working. But I'm going to show you exactly what I did and how I corrected it. I might add that this is the first time I saw this vehicle. It seemed kind of strange to me because when the vehicle got to me, the cooling fans were not turning on. That's the first thing. The second thing was that the four-way flashers, they stayed lit on the dashboard all the time. And of course the air conditioner did not work, but that's because the cooling fans were not working. But what's strange is that and this is a clue for you, that the four-way flashers were staying, not flashing on the dashboard, but they were staying lit. When I turned on the directionals, they would go dimmer, but it would still stay lit. That's clue number one. All right, let me take you over there. I'm going to show you how I checked it and ultimately resolved the problem. So let's bring you over. I'm going to show you what I did. Okay. First thing we did is we commanded it on with the scan tool to make sure that the computer was turning on the fans. It did show that it was on, but the fans were not coming on. So what I did is I unplugged the plug here, as well as over here, and I checked for power and for ground. And there was power in the one, and there was no ground in the other. So what I did, now being that there was power in here, I knew that the relays over in this box here were all functioning correctly and that this fuse was good. But just to take any doubt out of my mind, I opened this up. I checked this fuse right here, which is the cooling fans. It was good. And I checked these relays, all these relays here. They were working perfectly. When you actually commanded the computer to turn the fan on, you could feel these clicking, and they were turning on. So that brought me back down to over here to the plug. So I plugged these back in, and when I tested it with a pin, with a wire through the back over here to check for power and ground while it's plugged in, I had power in the one side, and when I checked it on the other side, there was also ground on the other side. I'm sorry, there was power on one side, and there was also power on the second side, which leads me to believe that maybe there was a broken wire leading back to the computer. So as you can see, it's an older vehicle. That's always a possibility. So what I did is I went back to my handy-dandy wiring diagram, and let me show you what I came up with. Okay, so what I did is I came back to my wiring diagram just to look through it to see what exactly everything had in common. And as you can see, these are your cooling fans, right side, left side. We're getting the power through here the way we're supposed to. But now when I back probed the negative, I didn't have any ground there whatsoever. The only thing I had was I had power being fed back through there, but it was actually being fed back through because it was lacking the ground. So I wasn't sure if it was going to be the computer, which was the problem, or it was the wiring. But when I looked at my schematic here, I come back in here and I see this ground distribution here. This is the G101 is what they had in common. So what I did is I went back to my, I'll show you. to the G101, and then I pulled up this schematic of where the G101 is, and as you can see, the G101 is actually at number 3, and number 3 is right here, right up on this is the left side of the car, driver's side of the car, number 3, and it grounds right on the behind the headlight right over here. So what I did is I came back over here with a test light and I tested these wires here, and lo and behold, once I got back into these wires over here, I found that down on the cooling fan itself, it did have the positive, and it was actually feeding the positive right back through that wire over to this point here. So I checked here, and the ground was good. I checked the wiring right here, and this wire actually had positive in this wire, which tells me that the brake was someplace right in that point right there. And after looking at it, I can see that somebody had previously repaired it one time before, and that was most likely going to be the culprit. This other wire is the one that leads back and was actually controlling the four-ways. It was actually feeding power back through the four-ways here too, and that was causing the four-ways to stay lit up on the dashboard because the power was actually being fed through here, and instead of grounding, it was actually going right back through that wire and back to the dashboard, and that was causing the lights to stay on for the four-ways. So what I did is I cut this wire off over here. Before I actually cut it off, I put my power probe in here and I grounded this, and once I grounded this circuit here, the four-way lights went out on the dashboard and the cooling fans both turned on. And so then I went back inside and cut that wire off and re-grounded it, and I'm going to show you what that looked like. Okay. This is what it wound up being. It was previously repaired by somebody else at some point, but what happened is the electrical contact here actually broke off. Now they did solder it, I might say that. They did solder it together, so it was a good repair. It was soldered. Why it broke, I have no idea. I thought it might have been because the wire was too short, but that wasn't the case. But that's what the two of them had in common. So what I did is took the headlight out over here. We pulled the headlight out so we can get in here to get to the wiring, and we put a new eyelet on it, soldered it back together, grounded it here, and actually put some protector over the top of it to keep it from happening again. Now our cooling fans turn on perfectly just the way they're supposed to, and the four-way flashers no longer light up when the key is in the on position. So that's what they had in common. They both shared a common ground, and what was happening is without a ground here, it was actually feeding power back over here. And what I did is I came in here with a test light, and I tested this wire with a test light over here. I had ground on this end of it, and I had positive right on this end over here, which then tells me that there was a problem right inside here, and when I cut it open, that's what I found. All right, if I can help anybody out, you drop me a line. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about anything. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.